But the feds still have Hunter's laptop. They've never returned the original device because it was picked up via a grand jury subpoena. But that Russian stolen laptop, there's no evidence that that has been recovered. So there's more compromise out there, Robert. Hunter Biden was the vice chairman of Amtrak, guys.
What were your thoughts when all this started to break?
It's one of the few times I can claim serendipity. I had no idea that it was going to come down the pike that day with P. Diddy. Obviously, he knew he was under investigation, and he gave up his passports beforehand. That's all a sideshow. But I can't claim any prior knowledge. The only thing I can claim is that we've dug into that particular trafficking operation, which is still going on. By the way, anybody that's watching this can go to ubergfe.com. UberGFE. And GFE stands for a trafficking terms called the girlfriend experience. And Hunter Biden was obsessed with this. The girlfriend experience is a step up from just standard prostitution. The girls are expected to actually talk to you in this setup. And UberGFE basically is around the country. That's why they called it UberGFE. And we actually know through bank records, Robert, the person who runs it. Her name is Ekaterina Moreva. We have sent her entire information, including social security number, address, date of birth, to Homeland Security investigations back in 2022. They've done absolutely nothing. Secondly, on Hunter Biden, yesterday I wanted to go on the program and then I didn't realize that you had the counsel for the plaintiffs on, which was perfect. So I hope everybody goes and watches the program yesterday because the folks suing Hunter Biden were on your program. The plaintiffs, the counsel of record. People don't get that this is better than television. So what this means for us today is that the 3-count indictment that Diddy was charged with, one of those counts, Hunter did many, many, many times. We know the names of the females. One of them is Joanna Rush. She was a 19-year-old. He flew from California to Hartford, Connecticut. So that's multiple states crossed, right? That's across the country. Let's just take that one flight. That one flight is a Mann Act violation. Then Hunter drove her down from Hartford, Connecticut to Manhattan to the Lombardi Hotel where she performed the foot job. That's another Mann Act violation.
And that's across state lines, right? So
that's
it's
what
the
I'm trying
same
to
conduct,
articulate. Exact same thing. And then with Ghislaine, she got the Mann Act violations too. So you got Ghislaine in the pen, Diddy in the pen, pre-trial. And we have more proof. Now, the indictment is terrible. Everybody should go read the Diddy indictment. By terrible, I mean it's jarring, 1,000 bottles of baby lube. I mean, it's sick stuff. However, besides the video of him beating the crap out of that woman in the hotel lobby, we have more evidence that Hunter at this juncture, more direct evidence. It'll come out in the trial, of course. But at this juncture, September 21st, year of our Lord 2024, we have more documentary evidence that Hunter Biden violated the Mann Act than P. Diddy. Now, that'll change. And I bet his trial won't even be till fall of 25 if he doesn't plead out. And the statute has multiple descriptions. So it can be either coerce or entice. And there are, at the sentencing level, right? The sentencing is up to a judge. But the judge has discretion to consider the underlying conduct. What does that mean? If you're coercing a person, that's a little bit different than enticing. It's stronger, and you're probably going to get stronger penalties. So the fact that Hunter Biden, we have no evidence that Hunter Biden, put a Glock to some girl's head, but just the act of enticing alone, that word itself is in the statute. So from our perspective, our goal is to kill plausible deniability. We want all of the bases covered so that there's no plausible deniability here. Because the word entice is in the Mann Act, there is no explanation for Hunter getting away with these felonies. They could be brought in California in terms of venue, because you and I are obsessed with Bill of Rights. You got to have venue. That you should be charged in the district. I was just reading this out loud. The district in which the crime was to be committed. You get an impartial jury. You get to be presented with the witnesses against you. These are all things you and I treasure. And my instinct is to be on the defense side. That's why it's so ironic, because usually you don't have somebody's laptop. That's the thing. We're just piecing this together with Diddy as the press releases and the indictments come out. If we had Diddy's laptop, which the feds do right now, by the way, we're being sued for hacking Hunter, and we get into that at the end. But the feds still have Hunter's laptop. They've never returned the original device because it was picked up via a grand jury subpoena. So how can we hack a device that's air-gapped, that's within the FBI's custody? It's all ridiculous. Only a sophist named Abby Lowell would be so ridiculous as to sue somebody over that.
Right. And in other words, you're saying that their allegation was that you illegally broke into the device via hacking, and that did not happen.
Yes, they're trying to transform the CFAA, the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act, federal statute passed in the 80s, into a Data Misappropriation Act. And the only way they can do that is forum shopping. So they got a district court judge who's a Marxist named Hernan Vera, who Joey just appointed to preside over our case. And he issued an order that directly contradicts standing Ninth Circuit precedent in a case that was just decided in 2016. So they're saying that it's Hunter's data. First of all, it's not. And that whole thing is about ownership. Hunter doesn't have ownership of the external hard drive, which we looked through to write this report. You don't have it.
Right.
And the judge is now trying to force Marco Polo, our C3, because all of us involved in the C3 are indemnified, to pay $18,000 of his legal fees, while he himself has a current judgment over himself in a District of Columbia Superior Court. Remember, Hunter's not paid his ex-wife in alimony. He owes her like $1.5 million. So Hunter's trying to get us to pay for his lawyer fees, while a judgment is currently sitting over Hunter Biden in another court, Robert.
Yeah. And this is a great point and a kind of a segue into a big question that I have is Hunter still has power. His dad is still the president. And yesterday when we were talking to the Empower Oversight guys and the whistleblower attorneys, they were articulating how Abby Lowell was also trying to get their clients prosecuted, right? So Abby Lowell was sending messages to other Justice Department officials, hey, prosecute these guys. Hunter's lawyer, so his father is the president, runs the executive branch, runs the DOJ. The lawyer is asking daddy's company essentially to go protect the son. And we see the same thing, right, with Abby Lowell. We see him now also coming after you guys, or the attorneys who are coming after you guys. And
I would tell the Empower Oversight guys, I don't mean to interrupt, but I would tell Shapley and Ziegler, welcome to the party.
Yeah.
Abby Lowell wrote to the DOJ about me and Marco Polo in February of 23, Robert. He wants us indicted.
Yeah.
February of 23. Now, they have it worse. Why? Because the Congress is using the whistleblowers' material. So I love them. I'm just saying that this pattern of behavior with Abby has been 18 months strong now. 18 months he's been doing this. He has to be disbarred. I will follow him to the ends of the earth to make sure he faces disciplinary action in both Maryland, D.C., and New York. All three he's barred in. If he has any doubt about that, he should lose that doubt.
Well, and I'm wondering, one big question that we've had zooming out on this is why Diddy, why now, right? I'm going to just dump a lot of stuff out, but I'm imagining that there's a bunch of overlap between these sex clubs, right? We know that Hunter Biden was paying for sex clubs. I think it was like 75 grand a year or whatever. He got kicked out because of his behavior. I think you've explained that before. But, you know, he's there, he's trafficking around. He's probably cavorting with a lot of the same groups, these upper, you know, elite celebrity individuals. There's questions in my mind about whether he attended a freak off, whether he was ever involved in any of this stuff. And then if that was the case, is this DOJ action somehow related to that? And there's different theories that we've been kicking around here as to why Diddy, why now? Is it to go reclaim some of that compromise or to go get control of a situation that's problematic before Joe Biden has to leave the White House, in other words?
Well, that's where it jumps into speculation, as you said. But one thing I do know is we know the name of the sex club. By the way, one thing we tweeted, and I'll send this to you after the program, is that the sex club owner and manager at that time, he's since been kicked out because he disclosed that Hunter was a member. But that person was supposed to be a witness in his LA trial. Remember, we had to eat an Airbnb reservation because Hunter pleaded out in his LA trial. We were going to be out there for 2 weeks. And one of the witnesses on that list was the Sanctum. The sex club is called Sanctum. And Hunter paid $10,000 through a straw person named Erin Straughter. By straw person, I mean she made the payment and he gave the money to her. Erin Straughter bears a passing resemblance to Malia Obama. And Malia Obama, so that's where a lot of the what I call Q-tard stuff came in, is that this prostitute for Hunter, who he employed at Rosemont Seneca, Erin Straughter, looks exactly like Malia Obama, and she was a standout track star at UNLV. She's the one that made the payment to the sex club. And Erin Straughter was also going to be called as a witness, Robert, at the trial. So no wonder Hunter pleaded guilty. He was going to have the sex club founder as the witness against him and the prostitute through which he paid the membership. And then he got kicked out because the guy said he was grabbing women's butt even though he wasn't cavorting with them. So he was just going around trying to play grab butt with all of the sex club members. This guy's totally out of control. And we lay out the sex club membership in our dossier at BidenReport.com. Malia Obama's credit card was found by a line of cocaine. That is totally in Old Row, that frat account on Twitter, first published that picture in December of 2019. I've since reached out to the founder of Old Row to figure out the provenance of that photo. But we have every reason to believe that that photo is legitimate. What likely happened is that she was at a party. Remember, her daddy was a big coke user, Obama. So we have every reason to believe that she was just probably at a party. She dropped her Chase card. Somebody set it by the coke and took a picture and say, ha, ha, ha. But there's no evidence, zero, that Malia Obama was on the Biden laptop. So these are like urban legends that spread. Is the conduct at issue egregious? Of course it is. Obama's running Joe. Obama was the one who put Joe as the point man in Ukraine. I'm just saying that Malia Obama wasn't having sex with Hunter Biden. That's my statement.
Yeah.
But somebody mentioned that. But it does look like her credit card, Robert. Buy a huge line of coke. I mean, these are the American first families. Imagine all of the lies that have been spread about Don Jr. on cocaine. We see this on Twitter all the time. No evidence.
Right.
Zero. What if Don Jr.'s credit card showed up by line of coke? Insane what they would do to him.
Right. Or they found a bag of coke, a dime bag in Trump's White House.
One Secret Service agent will not come forward. And we just need one person to agree to be identified, not even by his name, but on background. We believe that there was a partial DNA match and it wasn't Hunter. So you can do the math on a child of Joe that's still alive that wasn't Hunter. And everybody can do the math on that. And by implication, figure out who the DNA match was. We have been chomping at the bit to run with this story, Robert. I mean, we want that exclusive so bad because, Ashley has been in rehab more than Hunter. Ashley was in rehab when she was writing her diary down in Delray Beach, Florida. Absolutely insane. So both of Joey's live children are total dope heads.
Yeah, and I think that's been established, but if it was the situation were reversed and the Trump kids had a pattern like this at all, they would never live that down, right? And they would be indicted.
Bringing the dime bag into the White House? I mean, and it makes total sense. A couple of times when I rode with Peter, usually I was a junior staffer, so you'd still have to go through the airport-like security. You didn't have to take off your belt or shoes or anything. But all staffers at the White House every single morning have TSA pre-check-like security. You just got to take your phone out of your pocket, put it in the conveyor belt, and walk through. It takes 10 seconds. But if you're a senior level staffer and have car privileges like Peter Navarro did, I rode with him a couple times. And when you're in the car coming into the complex, the dogs still sniff your car for good reason, but you don't have to get out. I bring this up and belabor the point to say where the dime bag was found was right in the entryway from where people who have car privileges come in. So it stands to reason that whoever had the dime bag didn't have to go through the walkway. They were in a car brought onto the complex, and that little dime bag, even though the dogs are good and they're amazing creatures, they're not going to be able to smell a dime bag on your person within the car, right? They're sniffing for bombs and stuff like that. So somebody likely had car privileges, went right into the lower level West Wing, stuck a phone or whatever in the cubby hole, and there was the dime bag, and just forgot about it. Remember, Hunter forgot his laptop, Ashley forgot a diary. When you've never been held accountable for anything, your normal patterns of behavior and habits, remember when Gatsby in the novel said the rich aren't like you and me, Robert?
Right.
They aren't like you and me. Hunter had like 6 laptops at one point in time. He left. Somebody in the comments earlier said there are 3 laptops. Absolutely. And I urge everybody to go read our report. There's the laptop that was left with Keith Abloh. At the start of this program, I was outside of that cottage that was owned by Keith Abloh that Hunter solicited prostitutes in. There's another laptop that was stolen by Russian drug dealers. Again, this is according to Hunter himself. So the laptop that was at Keith Abloh's place was seized by the DEA and given back to Hunter's counsel, George Masiris in Chicago. But that Russian stolen laptop, there's no evidence that has been recovered. So there's more compromise out there, Robert.
We laid in the hands of the Russians.
Yes, and the Daily Mail did a big spread on this back in 21. Got to give him credit. They enhanced the audio on a video that Hunter shot. Remember, he filmed his sex escapades with many prostitutes, one of which was Kellyanne Quarry. After copulation, they're sitting there on the bed smoking crack, and they're talking about a lot of stuff. They enhanced the audio, and Hunter goes into this situation to Kellyanne Quarry saying, "Last summer I was in Vegas, and I passed out in the hot tub, face down. They thought I was dead. When they pulled me out, it finally took me a while," because he passed out. He basically probably had too much crack, passed out. When he came to, Robert, he didn't know where his laptop went. His laptop was gone. So there's the one at the repair shop. There's the one that was returned via the DEA. And by the way, we've submitted FOIAs to the DEA about the raid of Keith Abloh. We've gotten no response. And guess what? They didn't indict Keith Abloh, so there's no ongoing investigation. So we have like 15 different threads, man. We do FOIAs on each of them. We did a FOIA on Marco Polo and the Secret Service. I've been the subject of 3 Secret Service investigations with no probable cause. They've come to my house. They've come to my parents' house. They've called my wife.
Wow.
It's absolutely insane.
Well, I think you're right. There are all the threads, and that's why I think when something like Diddy happens, people are concerned about the overlap, right? It feels to me like there are different domains of these operations. And as you said, it's all speculation. I'm not an inside person or have any inside knowledge, but I just observe the patterns. And when you see situations like Epstein being allowed to exist for decades, doing horrendous conduct and palling around with all of the elite, like literally the elite, right? Same thing with the Diddy situation, same thing with Hunter, right? right? Now he's palling around with the senators, the Congress people, all the other crackhead kids that exist in our, bureaucracy, whatever. And so they're just different domains. It's the same pattern, just different domains. One's in the government, one's in academia, big tech, big finance, one's in Hollywood and pop culture. And they're all, part of this big disgusting culture or whatever it is. And so we're trying to identify where the overlap is, if there is any, and if Hunter's, caught up in something, like this, essentially.
Well, going back to the raids on Diddy's property, to go back to Diddy directly too, and I see the thumbnail of the video, there is an argument that he shouldn't have been charged in the SDNY. That's my first comment that came out on Tuesday, because I'm a big fan of the Sixth Amendment. You need to be charged in the district, which shall have been ascertained previously by law. I love the founders. They can't post facto make a damn district and charge you in it.
Right.
His estates were raided in the Central District of California and the Southern District of Florida. Take the Central District of California raid. That home, that property is but minutes away from where Hunter Biden was doing all of this.
Yeah.
And another connection to the Hunter Biden world is one of the drugs that Keith Abloh, who lost his medical license. Remember, Keith Abloh was a total pervert and was screwing his patients who were depressed and who came to him for medication. That's the backdrop. When Hunter went up there for treatment, one of the drugs that Keith Abloh dispensed to him, this is when he still had a medical license, was ketamine. That features prominently in the indictment and all of this story with Diddy. The women and the men, the male prostitutes. Remember, Diddy hired a ton of male prostitutes. He was a literal cuckold based on the indictment, not my opinion, Robert.
Yeah.
The indictment alleges that Diddy, with his former girlfriend who has since settled with him, she was the one who got the crap beat out of her in the hotel lobby.
Right.
She alleged that many male prostitutes were hired and Diddy was watching them. So he was a cuckold and he paid to be a cuckold. And those women and men were given ketamine, quaaludes, and other sedatives. And Hunter Biden loved ketamine. In fact, there's this hilarious and sad selfie of him. Ketamine, by the way, there's a huge amount of literature on ketamine's efficacy. It's a horse tranquilizer. There's a selfie of Hunter just sticking this thing right in his vein. It's horse tranquilizer and it just sedates you. And this ketamine thing needs to be explored. That's another value out of our dossier as we go into which drugs Keith Abloh was dispensing to him. Clonazepam, ketamine. And what this reminds me of, and I know I'm on a monologue here, so I appreciate the rope you've given me, but this reminds me of Cosby. Cosby was the king of quaaludes. And what this does is it basically puts the women in a vegetable state. These are terrible human beings. And if you and I did this once, we would be hauled off, man. People always say on Twitter, because the hatred towards my group and me specifically on Twitter, Robert, is out of this world. They call me groiper, incel, totally ridiculous. I have 3 kids and I'm not even 29 yet. And I'm married. And the reason why I bring this up is not to talk about myself. It's to say my wife always lovingly makes a comment. If I did a 10th of this stuff,
right,
they would crucify me. Like, they always say, I bet Garrett's wife, was always barefoot, pregnant, and in the kitchen and not allowed to talk. It's so far from the reality when they themselves are the ones sedating women. So the sedation, by the way, is not just because they're cruel, although that is a factor. This sedation is to maintain plausible deniability. Because if they knock the girl out, this is going to get graphic. Nothing you kicked off YouTube, but if they just knock the girl out cold and she's unconscious, that ruins the videos. Federal investigators recovered hundreds of videos.
Right.
So this video scheme was the currency. And if the girl is completely asleep and knocked out, that's going to ruin their videos. So they wanted the quaaludes and the ketamine and all of these drugs so the women were just in a stupor. It's so bad. But we have to talk about these things because once he had the videos of these people, that was his leverage and control. And our mission at Marco Polo, in fact, we're the only group in the country, Robert, to have the word blackmail in our mission. Our mission is to expose blackmail. We think blackmail is a handcuff on people. It's terrible. Guess what? If this blackmail would have been exposed, Diddy could have been pinched years ago. This was Diddy's collateral,
right,
in part. He was holding this over people. So our mission is to get this out. And although it's like ripping a Band-Aid off, it's not like we're going to play the videos of women being drugged. It's about exposing what Diddy is doing. And we're talking hundreds. This isn't Hunter Biden where there's dozens, and we log the dozens of women and the pimps. Diddy's is going to be in the hundreds because of the wealth of the person and the time span which they did these freak-offs. And I'm wondering where the freak-offs came, where that language came from. We found a video yesterday, Robert, of LeBron James, a CCP-loving clown, saying on Instagram, "Ain't no party like a Diddy party."
I saw that, yeah.
And we sent that to people who live just up the road road from LeBron in suburban Akron, Ohio, because he has a 10,000 square foot Akron, Ohio house, one of his 6. And somebody lives right up the street from him. And they said, holy crap, I didn't know that they were caught up in this too. So LeBron knew, Justin Bieber probably knew. On Instagram right now, there's viral videos of Justin Bieber at 15. I'm not saying Justin Bieber did this. I'm saying he probably knew. I'm not accusing LeBron of raping the women or drugging them, although it's not out of the realm of possibility. I'm saying that this could have been an open secret. That's what I'm saying. And why did we do this on Hunter? Remember, Hunter Biden was a public official. Somebody said Hunter was never a politician. I hear this from Moskovitz and Goldman and all these idiots all the time. Hunter Biden was the vice chairman of Amtrak, guys. He was appointed by President George W. Bush and was confirmed by the United States Senate.
I did
Go
not
look
know
it
that.
up.
Yeah.
Hunter Biden was the vice chairman of Amtrak. And then when he was in New York City, he shipped women. We know the 3 women's names. One of them's from San Jose, California, Guadalupe Batista. He moved those women through Amtrak. So the very mode of public transportation, namely Amtrak, that Hunter Biden was the vice chairman of,
Wild.
he violated the Mann Act through Amtrak. And we have this in our dossier. That's why we went to Newburyport. I was in Boston to meet with a donor for our legal defense fund, and I took the 30-minute train up there because humble and tight, and it was $8. And we went up to Newburyport and shot this quick video. It's our 5th installment of the field trip. Newburyport was where Hunter Biden held court for 2 months, taking ketamine, soliciting prostitutes, and working with a crack dealer out of Lowell, Massachusetts.
We want a good prosecution. We want a legitimate prosecution from a legitimate DOJ that, is acting in the interest of justice. And I'm not really sure what this is because it's pretty empty, pretty bare. There's a lot that they're going to fill in the gaps with, later they say, but
yeah. So there are 4 women AUSAs on the case. The only one that I loathe is Mitzi Steiner. She's
in your report.
Yes, she is in our report. She's a legal terrorist. She authorized and sought a warrant in front of a magistrate judge based on journalism. They had a tip from somebody in Florida. Bart Nicky and other SCOTUS precedent is very clear. Think about it this way. They went after the Project Veritas people with the severity that the federal government tried to go after the people with the Pentagon Papers. Think about that.
Yeah.
That's Mitzi Steiner's legacy. So Mitzi Steiner is the young girl in the room, though, and I don't think she's going to be the lead trial counsel. She wasn't the one talking at the bail hearing. She's probably just doing the motions practice. And one of the things that Marco Polo excels at, and I have a lot of help behind me, there are these links that you can click and it automatically drafts an email to the person. You can have the email pre-written and all somebody has to do is click once. It sends the email. So we'll put out some emails for Mitzi Steiner, for the other 3 AUSA. And Mitzi Steiner is the person who corresponded with Project Veritas's lawyers about the raids. Remember, they didn't see James at Trader Joe's and show him a warrant. You know what a professional would do is wait for James to go grocery shopping. And they did this to John Eastman, by the way. John Eastman just got out of the grocery store and the FBI agents were waiting in the parking lot and they took his phone that way. That's not what they did to James O'Keefe. They put a battering ram on his front door on a day just like today, almost 3 years ago. It was a Saturday morning about 7 a.m. And they put the battering ram through his front door and they said, just effing open up. He said, who is this? And he said, it's the effing FBI. Just effing open up. Go look at the video. That has to be prosecuted. There should be Bivens claims on Mitzi Steiner, the magistrate judge who authorized it. Just sue all of them. Can you imagine having your door put in through a battering ram?
Right. And so Mitzi Steiner was a part of the prosecution team that authorized the search warrant to go recover. This was the Ashley Biden diary, right? From
Yes, sir.
James O'Keefe.
And got the 2 plea deals from the 2 patsies down in Florida, the fall people.
You're right. So she's involved in that. Now she's showing back up on the Diddy case.
Yes.
So she is very useful in recovering potentially dangerous material for the government, theoretically.
That's what the evidence shows us. I'm just a nerd. I just follow the PACER entries. That's what I do. My secret is following the PACER entries and knowing OSINT tools. That's it.
Right.
And I know that Mitzi Steiner, think about how big the SDNY is. That prosecution office has more AUSAs than anywhere in the country.
Yeah.
It has more than the District of Columbia. They have over 200 AUSAs. How is Mitzi Steiner in the Diddy case and the Ashley Biden diary case? How does that happen? It's not like she is a supervisor. She's barely older than me. By the way, we don't just have one picture of Mitzi, Robert. We have a picture of her and Obama because she was a White House intern with Obama. And then we have the photo. We have a still shot of this raid. Remember, this is them outside of James' door with a battering ram.
Yep.
Mitzi Steiner has a major and a bachelor's degree in human rights and authorized and applied for a battering ram to go through the door of a jury journalist. She has a master's degree in Talmudic studies. Again, nothing against that, but she should move to Tel Aviv. We don't need this person in the federal government. Every dollar that she takes from us, Robert, is theft.
Right. And she's on this team. She's been there for a long time. And the other people on the team, they're also female, right? So all four of them are female. And so I also thought that this could be, like a Me Too type of a thing that is developing as a distraction from the election, to just kind of increase some attention, or like a shiny object type of a situation. But okay, interesting. So Mitzi Steiner, she's here. There was another connection that you guys were digging into too, or on these connections. One was about the lawyer, right? The lawyer from Hunter, Garagos.
Yes.
You guys posted about this too.
So to set the stage, Garagos is a highfalutin defense attorney based in Los Angeles, Mark, who been at the top of the Armenian American legal community for decades. He repped many people connected to O.J. Simpson. He got a pardon in the 11th hour for a client by Slick Willie. Remember the pardon scandal with Billy Clinton?
Yeah.
And he's just been a complete scumbag. His daughter, Tinny, is now repping P. Diddy. So think about this. Here's another Hunter Biden connection. Mark Garagos is the literal counsel of record in the Central District of California case to which Hunter Biden just pled guilty. Mark Garagos' daughter is the lead counsel of record for P. Diddy. Lead counsel of record. And what I am saying, that insane relationship has already, by the way, been tried in a federal court. What do I mean by that? Garagos was going to represent Claire Bronfman. So just watch these two people. If you do nothing else from this show, go put Google alerts on these two individuals, Tinny and her famous father, Mark. Everywhere they show up, there will be scumbags. Not my words. You want to know about a degenerate sexual pervert? Keith Raniere. He had his initials tattooed by women's genitals.
Yeah, I remember that.
And remember, her daddy's client, Hunter Biden, doesn't have a job. He literally does nothing all day. He's a finger painter. And yet he is suing both me personally, Marco Polo, our entity, Patrick Byrne, the IRS, and other cases, and John Paul MacIsaac. So how does he do that is what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's disgusting. And from a lawyer's perspective, I'll say I am very appreciative of defense attorneys, right? I'm a defense attorney. I love defense attorneys. And I think that it's critically important that we stand against the DOJ and against prosecutors and against, all of that stuff. But simultaneously, defense attorneys can also become very unethical and very corrupt. And when you have defense attorneys like we have seen in your case, or like we talked about with the Empower guys, like Abby Lowell, who are now turning into corrupt prosecutors, right? They're just as bad. They're trying to use their positions of power to now go after and prosecute people in an unethical way that's outside of justice. We're humans, but we're supposed to have ethics that we swear by, and we're supposed to stand in front of, our Supreme Court and swear in and all that stuff. So to then, drop below the bar and to just say that, well, you're a defense attorney, and so you represent the dregs of society, and so therefore that gives you license to also become a drag of society. It's not how that's supposed to work at all. So
totally. And a federal judge who sentenced Avenatti, when he was sentencing Avenatti, it's in the transcript, go look it up, made a comment of why Garagos wasn't charged. Because Garagos was in the meeting, literally at the conference room table with Michael Avenatti trying to shake down Nike. So Avenatti gets pinched for trying to extort Nike. He's in Terminal Island for a very long time.
Yeah.
The lawyer accompanying Michael Avenatti was Hunter Biden's lawyer, Mark Garagos, the Armenian legal guy, and his daughter is now repping Diddy. And I couldn't agree with you more. What I have about the defense attorneys and the need for them, my God, the Constitution's wording gives me goosebumps. Everybody has a right to counsel. And guess what? If somebody doesn't think we're being fair, I started off this episode saying that what the attorneys need to be arguing is a venue case. We've already articulated what the Diddy attorneys should be doing. They should be arguing that the indictment should have been brought in the Central District of California or the Southern District of Florida, where the freak-offs happened. Because remember, they raided the freak-off location. So I'm all for everybody getting a hearty defense. And Diddy, to be frank, the indictment should have had more exhibits. It doesn't have to have exhibits. It doesn't even have to have an explanation. The indictment just has to have the bare minimum. However, in a public case like this, I think there should have been more exhibits, either in the indictment or in the press conference that Damian Williams conducted on that, I think, Monday or Tuesday morning. He put a couple of photos up there. Remember what I'm talking about? He put the photos on the easel. Really should have put more up there, because the 3-count indictment was very thin. I think that, with Hunter and his associates, we have to be accurate. We don't claim that Hunter Biden committed all 459 of the criminal violations that we cite in this dossier, because we don't have evidence for for it. It's Hunter and his associates. And you're telling me that with the subpoena power, they only have Diddy on 3 felonies?
Right.
Now, the felonies themselves carry a lot of time, up to 20 years for one of them. Drew Black said, how can you trust Lev Parnas? I, of course, don't. I was just on War Room earlier today. Lev Parnas with Rachel Maddow just released a ridiculous documentary last night, 9 p.m. Eastern time on MSNBC, called From Russia with Lev. I watched it so you don't have to. I watched it on Hulu so I could skip the ads. And it was miserable to get so much wrong that Lev told him that the FBI gave John Solomon his bank records. The FBI subpoenaed the bank records from Rosemont Seneca Bohai in 2016 because of the Indian bond fraud scheme. Remember that scheme?
Remind us who Lev is.
Lev is a Ukrainian-born huckster who grew up in Brighton Beach and immigrated to the United States at 4. And he, through a mistake of Rudy's, got into Rudy's circle and got indicted for campaign finance violations and was imprisoned for a short time. And now he is the left's favorite person. And what I mean by that is Lev was the witness across this table from Tony Bobulinski. So Lev was a witness with Tony Bobulinski in a congressional hearing. And one of my favorite things that everybody should go listen is there was a hot mic between Tony and Lev during the hearing. And I can't remember Tony's exact words, Robert, but the paraphrasing is like, you are a disgrace. I shouldn't be sharing a table with you. That's what Tony told Lev, which I couldn't be prouder of. You know why? Because it takes testicular fortitude to do that. It's one thing.
Tony Bobulinski came out in, I think it was like October 2020, right? And he was kind of a whistleblower and exposed a lot of the stuff, and he got smeared. I mean, he got actually raked through the coals on that. Everybody said he was a liar and making it up and a Russian asset, and it was all true.
Totally, and he had not just emails, but WhatsApp messages. The thing with Lev is, in the documentary last night, which I watched so you don't have to, is the receipts that Lev cites are mostly photographs. And the photographs and the videos that he took, by the way, he acted like a tourist in these business meetings. He acted like, you know that, here's a funny story, and I love my grandmother dearly. Norma's 81, but one time she visited me at the White House, and she wanted to take a photo with Peter Navarro so badly. And Peter was kind, right, and did it. But I had to tell Grandma afterwards, I said, Grandma, don't be so quick to want photos, right? I mean, because you got to just be in the moment, right? Lev was like videotaping it while going through it, and he acted like a damn tourist. And, you know, of course, my grandma didn't work at the White House, so she, in fact, was a tourist. But nevertheless, Lev's receipts basically just show that he was in the room. They don't show felony violations. I want Lev to specify with granularity which felonies he's alleging. He can't just say Trump is corrupt or Rudy is corrupt. Which crimes did they commit? See, that's what our dossier is about. And by the way, I just personally got a correction from the Guardian newspaper. They issued a false story about me, which included me, and I got a complete and total exoneration.
Amazing.
And amendment, because I showed that the Facebook article or Facebook account that they were using was an impersonator account. You know, all these impersonators on Telegram that try to sell you Bitcoin? Same thing's going on Facebook. A Guardian writer took a screenshot and said that that was me when it wasn't. You know, why do I bring this up? Because you've got to call people on this. Lev, if he does a space, you've got to just ask, which felonies, Lev? Remember when AOC said, which crimes has he committed, Tony? And Tony was like, well, fraud, RICO. And then she said, RICO's not a crime. And that's when you know you're dealing with a bartender.
Amazing. Okay, so you got the correction out of
The Guardian.
The Guardian. But there was this, the burden is on the publisher to be truthful and accurate in what they're saying, support their argument. And that's what you guys do. And you guys put this together. It's in the dossier. But this was good evidence of the trafficking that I just wanted to share with everybody watching this so you can see exactly basically what you're talking about here. So if the story is about human trafficking and that Diddy is trafficking people in, and that R. Kelly was trafficking people, and that Epstein was trafficking people, although they were underage, which we have not seen yet in the Diddy case, there's evidence of Hunter Biden's literal maneuvering of women, right? And this was one story. Can you walk us through this of how he's like buying tickets and stuff for women?
Yes, thank you very much. So this goes back to my earlier statement about how Hunter Biden was the vice chairman of Amtrak.
Yes.
He is at this juncture. Hunter is downtown New York City at the Roxy Hotel, ROXY, Roxy Hotel. He is texting 3 prostitutes via iMessage to come from Boston to New York City. We have the literal Amtrak tickets for the women he paid to move from Massachusetts to New York to engage in sex. The literal definition of the Mann Act violation. The three
Right
women
there.
are, these are adults, but
Yeah.
they're barely 18. Some of them were, I think, 22 or something. Vanessa Gonzalez, I already named Guadalupe Batista, and Kiani Bogger. Now, we know of the three women, one of them was, let's just say, not to Hunter's. Hunter doesn't have many standards, but one of them was a little bit heavyset, and Kian was the camera person. So Kian was the one who was actually filming the threesomes with Hunter and Vanessa and Guadalupe. So again, this is all laid out. We have the Amtrak tickets. We have the contemporaneous iMessages. We have a screenshot of the female. Look at that. That is her on the literal Amtrak. The literal Amtrak train. That is a screenshot. And we have the file name of the MP4. If you go down just a little bit to the left.
Yep.
0409151.mp4. The federal government has that video. It's in an evidence locker in the Wilmington Resident Agency of the Baltimore Field Office of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. And we have the copy of the hard drive. That person, by the way, is Guadalupe Batista. That's her. So we know who the camera person is in the threesome, and we know the two girls with which Hunter Biden
Right, and there's the ticket with their names on it right there.
Yeah, Back Bay. Everybody who's from Boston knows where this station is. This is not the North Station that I went to Newburyport on a couple days ago. This is the Back Bay Station. This is downtown, baby. So we moved them from Boston, and they arrived at 2:30 a.m. But why did we put this up? Going back to your point, this was the day of the Diddy indictment, and we have a couple of pictures from the press conference. We have a couple of statements from the AUSA saying they recovered a lot of baby oil. We have the screenshots of the Amazon tickets, or the Amazon Freudian slip, because we were just talking about it.
Yeah.
We have the Amtrak tickets that Hunter Biden bought. He bought them. Why do we know this? Because that ticket, Robert, came from his emails. So we have the copy of the hard drive. That emailed ticket went to him, and then he sent it to them for the person to be able to scan. You know, the conductor. You're from the West Coast, so they don't have a lot of Amazon tracks out there. I'm from Illinois, where there's one coming right through here in Illinois. But if you do Amazon a lot, you know that the dude comes through the car every time and scans it. And they prefer either a paper ticket or something like this, where you can zoom in really, really big and turn the brightness up on your phone and get the QR code. It's exactly what happened. We know the exact play-by-play. So guess what? They come down to New York with Hunter. They have hanky-panky. They then ride up in Hunter's truck from Manhattan back to Newburyport and go in Keith Ablow's cottage. So to bring it full circle, that video that you showed of me on Twitter, that we posted on Twitter, that is outside 3 Center Street in Newburyport, which is still up for rent on VRBO. We also posted on Twitter, if you want to take it there, that we wouldn't sit on that couch for $5,000. We know what occurred on that couch. Everybody on hotels.com trying to book 3 Center Street,
No.
do not go there. And if
One-star reviews, weird smells, weird odors.
Set the couch outside. If you want to do something for the homeless community in Newburyport, I just put a lamp by our street. You put the furniture by the road, because somebody who doesn't have all the advantages you had can probably take advantage of that free piece of furniture.
Right.
But we've seen what has occurred on that couch, and we know it ain't good. So he ships them down through the Northeast coast through Amtrak. Then he takes them up via car, or truck, actually. We know the VIN of the vehicle. We know what should be in this indictment. We don't know, oh, just Hunter somehow got it back up to Newburyport. No. We have a text message from the woman the next day. Can I read you this? This is from Vanessa Gonzalez. She said, "We are waiting for you. It's been 30 minutes. It's cold. I'm walking back now to your truck. I needed to get some Wi-Fi at Starbucks. What's going on? We are at your car and it's cold and you got a ticket." So we'll be able to look up in the ticket system of New York that Hunter Biden's truck got a ticket probably on the street. And that would have occurred on December 15th, 2018. They go back up to Massachusetts, and this is where this occurs. By the way, the genitalia is redacted. This occurs back in Newburyport. So Hunter is buck naked in the shower. You have 2 women digitally stimulating him while he lights his crack pipe. And that is on the cover of our report. So that picture that was taken on December 17th. And remember, this is the fingernail of Vanessa Gonzalez. She has about 4-inch nails. She's the one with the lighter, and Hunter is hovering his crack pipe over the lighter. Again, this is the smartest man the U.S. president knows. It's the smartest man he knows. Not my words, his words.